Here's more wrestling news for April 22nd, 2022. And your headlines for this afternoon include Cody Rhodes' current WWE gimmick called Borderline Heelish, WWE superstars to represent major franchises at NFL Draft, major update on Tammy Sytch's future, Lady Frost out of action due to injury, DDP called WWE star to ask them to stop doing the cutter as a finisher, Hangman Page responds to Stone Cold Steve Austin comparisons, You're All Fired, ex-WWE star on John Laurinaitis releasing several wrestlers on WrestleMania morning, ex-WWE trainer Bill Demott addresses allegations made against him, ex-WWE superstar Ezekiel Jackson appears finally on screen, WWE Hall of Famer Mike Tyson's representative responds after viral video of Punching Man emerges, Samoa Joe comments on possibly joining Blackpool Combat Club, Sarray's future with NXT uncertain, and more. We are kicking off today with Cody Rhodes, who returned to WWE as a fully fledged babyface, but his actions outside of the ring have shown that he's a real-life good guy. In October 2021, Rhodes received a tweet from a fan who said that watching AEW Rampage was helping him cope with the death of his brother, and at the time, Rhodes invited him to a future AEW event as a show of support. In an update, that same fan said that he was asked by his nephew, the son of his brother, when they will go to the future AEW event that Rhodes had promised, and that he was having a difficult time explaining that Cody is now back in WWE. Responding, Rhodes kept his promise and advised the fan to check his DM, where free tickets to next week's tapings in Philadelphia were waiting for the fan and his nephew. It's good to see that Cody is a man of his word and has no problem paying out of his own pocket for AEW tickets for the fan, despite no longer working there, and we hope that the fan and his nephew have a fantastic time after what must have been a difficult 6 months for the both of them. Cody may be a genuine good guy and portrayed on WWE TV as a babyface, but there are some who aren't sold on the former TNT champion. According to an internal report within WWE, Rhodes is considered one of the top babyfaces on Monday Night Raw, but that's not how Bully Ray sees it. On the latest Busted Open Radio, the WWE/Impact Wrestling Hall of Famer discussed Rhodes' character since his return, saying, "Sometimes the way Cody talks, his tone, his inflection, his words, I genuinely believe that it's borderline heel. The suit, the way he carries himself, there's a certain heelish quality. I believe that Cody is a borderline heel because of the way he presents himself, the way he speaks, the rhythm in which he speaks. He almost talks too slow in a way that he's talking down on people." In AEW, Rhodes' character often came across as heelish, and he was booed relentlessly by the fans despite being a babyface, and we're sure that Cody and WWE are hoping to avoid a similar reaction now that he's returned to Vince McMahon's promotion. There's no arguing that the WWE has a global appearance with over 85 million subscribers and 56 billion views on its YouTube channel, but now the wrestling juggernaut is going to be working with the NFL. This week, it was announced that The Miz and Titus O'Neil will be announcing selections for the upcoming NFL Draft, which is scheduled to happen next week. O'Neil, who will be celebrating his birthday on the day of the draft, will be representing his hometown with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, while the A-lister will be representing the Cleveland Browns. The 2022 NFL Draft will start on April 28th and last until April 30th, and it's a big deal for WWE to have this presence at the upcoming draft. There's been an update in the Tammy Sytch case after the former WWE diva was involved in a 3-vehicle collision that left one man dead. Sytch was reportedly responsible for the crash after her vehicle collided with a car that had stopped at a light, which hit the car in front, which had also stopped. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer discussed the charges against Sytch, as not only could she be facing a criminal case, but she is also being sued for wrongful death by the family of the man who died. Meltzer explained that the reason Sytch hasn't been arrested yet is because the police are waiting on the toxicology test results to come back, as she's being tested to see if drugs or alcohol were in her body at the time of the crash. He added that drug tests can take a while to come back, and said that until it does, Sytch isn't expected to face time behind bars. While Sytch has had trouble with the law before, this is unquestionably the biggest trouble she's ever been in. And while she's not been arrested yet, that's only because law enforcement are waiting for the test results. We've got news from Impact Wrestling now, as Lady Frost is out of action for the time being. On Twitter, Frost said that she has a minor surgery scheduled for May and thanked all the fans who have checked in on her already. After signing with Impact last year, Frost last competed in Impact's Multiverse of Matches event earlier this month during WrestleMania weekend, and we're wishing her a speedy recovery. For years, Diamond Dallas Page would level opponents of any size, hitting them with his infamous Diamond Cutter. On this week's DDP Snake Pit podcast, DDP discussed when he first started using the move and said that at the time, a young Triple H had also started using the cutter himself. Page explained that this led to a phone call between the two in which DDP asked the game to stop using the move, and Triple H ultimately agreed and would go on to make the pedigree his own finishing move. Triple H may have stopped using the cutter, but his protege Randy Orton would adopt the move and name it the RKO, but who knows how things would have gone had Triple H stuck with the cutter. At Full Gear 2021, Adam Page became the new AEW World Champion, fulfilling a plan that had been in the works ever since the company began. With his tough demeanor and love of beer, many fans have compared the champ to Stone Cold Steve Austin, but during the latest Insight with Chris Van Vliet, Page said that it had never been intentional. "I could understand how you'd see that, but it was never my intention or my goal or anything like that. Stone Cold is awesome, I'll take it as a compliment. People tell me stuff like that about this guy or that guy. I hope people don't think that's my intention, like I want to be the next whatever. That's not the case, remotely never has been." Hangman Adam Page may enjoy a brewski or five just like the Texas Rattlesnake, but he's hardly the only wrestler who enjoys cracking open a cold one. And while he's flattered for the comparison, there will only ever be one Stone Cold Steve Austin. Back to WWE, and in 2001, the company hosted arguably their most popular event, WrestleMania 17, which many still call the best pay-per-view of all time. Mere days after the final WCW Nitro, the show saw the new kayfabe owner of WCW, Shane McMahon, defeat his father, Vince McMahon, in a street fight, but WWE had much more planned than what fans saw. Originally, there was a plan for wrestlers from WCW to interfere and help their new boss, but those plans were nixed after Shawn Stasiak leaked this plan to the media. On Stories with Briscoe and Bradshaw, Bill Demott, one of the many WCW stars the WWF had signed, explained how John Laurinaitis, who had been with WCW at the time, broke the bad news. Demott said how the WCW stars were woken at 6 in the morning by Laurinaitis, who told them that they'd all been fired, and that he spent the plane ride to Houston, Texas, the home of WrestleMania, trying to figure out what happened. He added that Laurinaitis told him that Kevin Dunn had called to say that the WCW stars should be sent home, blaming Stasiak for going on the internet to reveal 10 wrestlers who were going to show up in the ring. Instead of an in-ring segment, WCW's talent were given a shout-out by Shane before his match and had no in-ring time at all. Given that Shane was meant to be the face, perhaps it was for the best that he didn't get help from a ton of wrestlers to defeat his own father, but that's originally what WWE had planned. Bill Demott may have had a career in WCW and later on screen in WWE, but is perhaps best known for his departure in 2015. At the time, several former trainees took to social media to accuse Demott of misconduct, including physically assaulting trainees, using homophobic and racial slurs, and condoning sexual harassment. These claims came from stars who would go on to have notable careers, including Kenny Omega, EC3, Kurt Hawkins, and Luchasaurus. While WWE's investigation found no wrongdoing, Demott resigned to save the company further backlash, and on the podcast said, "I'm not a big fan of what I've been accused of doing, but I'm a big fan of that hard work and, okay, work for it. You both know, Mr. Briscoe more than anybody, the opportunities are so more in front of them nowadays. They don't have to appreciate it or work for it. That whole paying your dues thing is way out the window." In response, the podcast's co-host JBL agreed that the claims against Demott were false and said that he too has dealt with accusations over social media. 7 years after his resignation, Demott maintains that he's innocent of the accusations against him, but don't expect him to ever return in a trainer role for the company. Now in 2014, Ezekiel Jackson was released from WWE and had appearances with Impact and Lucha Underground before retiring from the ring. This week, the final ECW World Champion resurfaced, but it wasn't as a wrestler, but instead as a contestant on The Price is Right. Going by his real name Rickland Stevens, Jackson remains in incredible shape after retirement and was clearly having a blast being back on TV and without having to take a bump. We've got news from boxing legend Mike Tyson, who's been trending after a video went viral yesterday. In the clip, Tyson can be seen punching a passenger on a plane who had seemingly been harassing him, leaving the passenger busted open after repeated taunts. According to TMZ, law enforcement detained 2 people involved with the incident, and that the man who was attacked provided minimal details of the incident and refused to cooperate further. Now, a representative of Tyson has come forward, telling TMZ that the situation was unfortunate, but said that the passenger had been repeatedly harassing the boxing legend, even throwing a water bottle at Tyson. "We can't think of many worse people to antagonize than the baddest man on the planet, who has appeared for WWE and AEW in the past, and we expect the passenger to keep to himself the next time he feels like goating one of boxing's greatest ever fighters." More from AEW, as Samoa Joe has only been with the company for a few weeks, but has already made a big impression. After appearing at Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor 15, Joe would capture the ROH World Television title in his second ever AEW match last week, but isn't in the mood to be making friends. In an interview with the New York Post, Joe was asked about possibly joining the Blackpool Combat Club, and while he was very complimentary of William Regal, Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and Wheeler Yuta, he considers himself a loner in the ring. "There are a lot of men within that stable I have a great amount of respect from, and some I'm learning to acquire respect for. Obviously, some would think that it would be a perfect fit for me, but I've never been one to be a very good teammate, so I don't know how that would work." While Joe has worked with groups in the past, such as the Main Event Mafia in TNA, his biggest wins have come as a single star. So, don't expect the World Television Champion to be teaming with anyone in AEW. And we're ending today with Sarray, who joined WWE in 2020, following in the footsteps of Japanese women such as Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Io Shirai. Whilst those three women have all had impressive careers and held several titles, Sarray is yet to win gold in WWE, and many have considered her career so far a complete dud. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer discussed Sarray, who this week racked up another loss to Tiffany Stratton, and explained why the future looks bleak for her in WWE. "I don't like her chances, but I haven't liked her chances since the day she arrived. I don't imagine they're ever going to bring her to the main roster. As long as she's there, she's just going to be, doing nothing." Meltzer went on to compare Sarray to Kushida, who left WWE last week, and said that unlike the former superstar, she's likely making more money than ever before as an NXT 2.0 superstar. It doesn't appear that WWE has any plans, big or small, for Sarray, as while she is a very talented wrestler who proved herself for years in her native Japan, the superstar just isn't clicking in NXT 2.0. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.